Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm Neha Bharadwaj Alter. With less than 24 hours to go, we're 24 hours away, in fact, from the World Test Championship final. And on the eve of this biggest test match of the year, Rohit Sharma refused to divulge any details about his possible playing 11. But Pat Cummins has named Scott Boland as Josh Hazlewood's replacement and also said that there'll be no surprises, which means we now know they're likely playing 11, what that's going to be like. So we'll talk about that on the show. But first, to what happened in today's training. There was an injury scare for India after Rohit Sharma was injured during the practice session ahead of the final. Rohit was batting in the nets and he was hit on his left thumb. The Indian team physio Kamlesh Jain made sure that it was taped nicely, and after that Rohit did not return to training. But that's also because the session was anyway getting over. So maybe he didn't want to make it worse. It didn't seem like a big injury, but the doctors will assess the condition of his thumb and then take a call. But from all the reports that we've been getting, it doesn't seem serious, and hopefully his thumb is fine. So that's the injury update on Rohit Sharma. We're going to talk about what India's likely playing 11 will be, what we can expect, who our experts think will be the top run getter, the top wicket taker of this match. Let me introduce our experts to you then. Jamie Alter, a writer, actor, journalist, YouTuber, loves the game, covers the game and loves to talk about the game. I also have Vedam Jaishankar. He's been covering this glorious sport for a long time. He's a test cricket connoisseur and he doesn't mince his words when it comes to taking a stand on any issues regarding cricket. So there we have two gentlemen here on the show, and we're all three of us, and I think all of us are looking forward to this big World Test Championship final. Let me get started with Vedam then. Vedam, doesn't get bigger than this. World Test Championship final, and I know that on the eve of this test, captains will say, there's no pressure. Captains will say, yes, we want to win, but we don't want to put undue pressure on our boys. Bottom line is, this is huge for India. Given the ICC title drought that they've seen in the last 10 years, they would really want to win this one.
Yeah, absolutely, Meha. Good evening to all our viewers and you,
Yes.
of course, and Jamie. Yeah, but look at it this way. The starting of the season, the beginning of a season, a fresh season, there are always butterflies in the stomach. I know IPL is done and dusted, and suddenly we are into a new season. And irrespective of where you are, what you are, how you have done the previous season, there's always butterflies in the stomach. It doesn't matter whether it's India or Australia or anybody, till that first ball is bowled, there's a lot of apprehension and you're not sure, and you like to feel that first ball right in the middle of the bat, if you're a batsman. And the bowler, especially in England, you're hoping that the ball doesn't swing too much. I said
Yeah.
too much because it's very difficult even for a bowler to control the swing. They need to get used to the conditions. That's why this Duke ball, the red ball, suddenly it will swing longer in England. And the Duke ball too will swing quite a bit, even if it's 30 overs or 40 overs old. So as a bowler also, you don't want it to swing too much that you can't control it. You'd love the ball to swing, but you'd like it to swing just that much where you can control it. You can do what you want to do with it. And so those are the permutations and combinations that both the batsmen and the bowlers will be looking forward to. And of course, a wicketkeeper has to collect the ball clean. It's going to sting in that cold climate if you get it on your fingers. It's not like keeping in India, where even if you get it on your fingers, you can get away with it. And always at the beginning of the season, the fingers are the ones which are, most delicate part. And whether batsman, bowler, fielder, anybody would like to keep those fingers warm and safe. So, and also like in English conditions, take a little longer to heal, not like so much like the Indian conditions where healing is much quicker. So I think all in all, you can't say anybody is going to walk into this game with confidence. Yes, there will be a lot of quiet confidence, but they know that they have to regroup themselves and restart everything, and it's the start of a new season and start of new hopes, new aspirations.
Absolutely. Let's put this question to our viewers as well. Who do you think has the advantage in those conditions? Vedam was just talking about how there will be butterflies in the stomach. One team, many would say, have many would say have played a long season. They just finished playing IPL, so they have had that preparation. The other team, barring few players who played in the county, the others haven't played competitive cricket since the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So are they underprepared? Is one team overcooked? That's also the question. Because at the end of the day, it'll come down to who adapts to these conditions better. I'm going to put this question to all of you as well. Who do you think has the advantage? Do let us know in the comments section below. Let me also then get Jamie onto this. Jamie, I asked you this question yesterday. Overcooked or underdone? Between the two teams, we know one's been playing cricket, one's just finished IPL, the other hasn't played competitive cricket. In terms of preparation, what is better?
Look, at the tricky one, but I think we can all mutually accept here that with 15, 16 completed seasons of the IPL, let's look back at the past 15. There's not been any IPL which has not been followed by some kind of series, bilateral, some kind of tournament that the Indian team has played, right? So I think they've all reached the stage where, yes, of course, it's a massive shift to go from playing a T20 league like the IPL into a World Test Championship. But I don't think it's going to be as big a problem as certain former players turned pundits have been making it out, because these are all professionals. Most members of this squad, and let's look back at 2021. It's the same top five that went to England then. The same top five is playing here now. That's a debate for a different day why the same five have gone. But I think each of these players, they know what is required of them. Yes, they'll be fatigued after 2 months of the IPL. You play a match, it goes till late nights. You have media commitments. You get back to the hotel. You barely sleep. But I'm fully confident that this team will not see that as a hindrance. Now, coming to the Australian team, like we discussed yesterday, there are some players, Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, who've not bowled a ball in a competitive match now for almost 3 months. But like I also mentioned yesterday, India, and I cannot stress enough on this, let's hope that Rahul Dravid, Rohit Sharma, everyone in that Indian camp is just seeing this as a one-off test match. Do not even be thinking about the next cycle. You have a massive advantage over Australians, of which half the squad has been camped out playing county cricket. The major advantage that I think that India has is they can just look at this as one match. We all know, Meha, Vedam, how big the Ashes are for these Australians and the Brits, right? In a one-day World Cup year, they'll be looking ahead to next Ashes. This Australian team has already burdened themselves by talking about 6 test matches, because after this match, they have 5 Ashes test matches. I'm going to believe they're taking those 5 test matches a little bit seriously than this all-important match. India do not have that burden. This is where, of course, the conditions there, this team is better equipped. This Australian team, I think, is better equipped to play at the Oval. But I just think they're going to, at some point, succumb to the pressure of keeping in mind injuries, rotation, all these things. India don't have to worry about that. No one cares which team goes to the West Indies after this final. No one's even looking at the next cycle. Channel all your energies, all that you've learned, the mistakes, the positives from this past 2 years of WTC cycle, and just go out there, pick the right team, and just play to your best potential. I think India, I'm not saying they can win. I still have Australia as favorites, but it's this advantage India have of not looking too far ahead, which might prove the biggest point.
That's a good point, and I'm going to pick out the one where you're saying get the right team, because I think that will be important for India. Now you look at Australia, they have more or less their 11 ready. Scott Boland, as Pat Cummins is now said, is going to take place of Josh Hazlewood. So you know what their playing 11 is going to be with. But with India, that's a problem, because the biggest challenge for them, Vedam, is getting their playing 11 right. From the lessons that they would have learned from the WTC final last time around, when they went with 2 spinners, if you could put Vedam on screen, when they went with 2 spinners and they didn't really need to use Ravindra Jadeja. Whereas for New Zealand, went with 4 seamers, and we know what they did to the Indian batters. So having said that, how important is that for India, and what should they be looking to do in terms of conditions? I mean, okay, let's say tomorrow is sunny. Should they go in with 2 spinners then?
Spinners can bat a bit, and India should stick with 2 spinners and 3 fast bowlers. I said 3 fast bowlers basically because I think they're all coming out of a long season, and God forbid one of them has a breakdown. We hope not. But if they do have a breakdown, we need backups, and we don't have backups. You need 5 bowlers. There's no doubt about it. And even as we know, Oval, they don't play this early in the season. They don't play a test match so early in the season. So everybody expects a little bit of extra bounce in the oval pitch, and that will help the spinners too. Spinners too need a little bit of bounce for the ball to carry, if it's going towards the short leg. Spinners may not really be in the business very early in the match, but we know oval does take a little bit of turn as the match progresses, and you need that. If for nothing else, maybe they can play a holding game. Somebody like Jadeja or even Ashwin, they can play a holding game. And if there's a little bit of dampness in the pitch, I'm sure Ashwin will come in very quickly, and he will make use of that dampness. Because even as a spinner, you need that ball to bite. Only when there is grass and it doesn't bite, it just skids through. But if it is slightly damp, yes, you would get it to bite. And having said that, I think the challenge or the dilemma right now is the wicketkeeper. But I would straight away go for KS Bharat, because he is one of the best wicket keepers we have. He's got the reach, and he's a well settled wicket keeper. Ishan Kishan, on the other hand, I think he may have to wait. He's a substitute wicketkeeper. He may have to wait. The advantage that he has is he's a left-hand batsman. But if the wicket is bouncy, I don't know how much he can use his left-hand batsmanship there. So having said that, I still feel that the white ball cricket and the red ball cricket are drastically different, especially when it comes to the mindsets. Because as a batsman, you like to play close to your body. In the red ball cricket, in the white ball cricket, you're looking for that. You're looking for that space, trying to free your hands and hit through the covers or hit through third man or wherever. But you don't have that luxury in red ball cricket. It's the same with bowlers. Bowlers in white ball cricket try to not to give width, but here in red ball cricket, they'll have to go little outside the off stump or a lot outside the off stump. So I think they need to get used to that mindset coming from T20 cricket, to learn to leave the ball, play it on its merit, and really not go after the bowling. So it'll take some time to settle down, and the batsmen who settle down much quicker will probably do much better than somebody who's just flashing and throwing his bat around. But I think we are in for a good contest. The
Yeah.
Australians, like Jamie said, could be distracted by the Ashes. The Ashes is a bigger trophy for them. Whatever maybe, whether it's a Test Championship final or whatever, Ashes is a bigger trophy for them, and they will be distracted by the Ashes. They will try to use this as match play for the Ashes. They'll try to seal their place in at least the first couple of Ashes tests, but India doesn't have that distraction. India just has to go out and go the whole hog. And I'm sure, I think in many ways, this Indian team is a combination of youth and experience. And a lot of the youth are trying to make a big name for themselves. And what better stage than on this WTC final?
Yeah. I like the fact that you're saying this is a combination of youth and experience. But my question then is, then shouldn't they be looking at someone like an Ishan Kishan to get an opportunity? Jamie, I know that you've spoken about Ajinkya Rahane, and I know you've said that Ajinkya Rahane, he's been batting well for Mumbai in domestic cricket. We saw what he did for Chennai in the IPL, but bottom line is that Ajinkya Rahane and all the test matches that he's played in England hasn't really scored runs. He averages 26 in England. So should India then be still looking at giving him an opportunity, or maybe just go in with an X factor in Surya Kumar Yadav?
Look, while I was somewhat surprised that they called Rahane, because what had Rahane done in 6 months, 7 months out of the team to convince you that he had something worth calling him back? But now that you picked him, Meha, 82 test matches, long-serving vice captain, outstanding captain, albeit with a very small sample size. Now you picked him, you have no option but to play him. What's the other option? Suryakumar Yadav? I don't think this is the time to play him. So I have
Okay.
no doubt that, especially with Rahul Dravid being the coach, Ajinkya Rahane is going to bat at number 5. What will his impact be? I'm not so certain. But I just go back to the point I was trying to make earlier. India should not be seeing this as an 11 or a 15 that's going to lead this team into the next 2 years of the WTC cycle. When I mentioned the 5, India's top 5 is the same as 2 years ago when they went to England. Of those 5, 4 are almost at the end of their careers. I'm talking about Rohit Sharma, who's 35, injury prone, Virat Kohli, Cheteshwar Pujara, and Ajinkya Rahane. I believe especially Rahane and Pujara are the ones who, no disrespect, they're somewhat living on borrowed time. I cannot stress enough that India just need to look at this as one match. Put all your best energies, focus this in. Is Rahane going to walk out and waltz the way he was doing it for Chennai Super Kings? Absolutely not. Yes, after 4 tours to England, he averages 26. That's very poor returns as far as I'm considered for a player who's played 82 test matches. But that seniority, the calmness which he brings to the crease, let's hope that that seeps into the batting, because let's face it, after him at number 5, be it KS Bharat, be it Ishan Kishan, neither has played in England. This may as well be the debut for both of them, because while KS Bharat kept very well in those 4 test matches, very different keeping on those dust bowls to keeping, like Vedam mentioned, when the ball is wobbling, it's slightly chilly, the ball starts to hit your fingers and jar the bones. Definitely you need the better keeper, and let's face it, that is KS Bharat. But the fact that neither has played in England, in my mind, puts them both as debutants. That's a problem. Then going back to something I was saying yesterday, it's because of this inconsistent Indian top 5. This is why I believe that Ashwin has to play, Jadeja has to play, and at the expense of dropping someone with better speed, I still would like to see Shardul Thakur play, because he's got 350s in overseas conditions. It's just one match. He got 250s in the same oval test the last time India played here. Let's hope that Shardul Thakur does get the chance, because yes, he's a good bowler, wicket taker. He's played 7 of 8 tests in overseas conditions. He's got a damn good record as a bowler. But it's the need for India's getting runs out of the lower order, which is why I feel these 3 all-rounders have to play, no matter what the conditions are.
Okay, now this is what Rahul Dravid had to say at the press conference. He was asked this question, whether he feels the pressure of playing in a World Test Championship final. And this is what he had to say. And I'm going to put that quote up on the screen for you in a second. But he goes on to say that he doesn't feel any pressure. He says, no, not at all. I mean, we don't feel any pressure in terms of trying to win an ICC trophy. Of course, it would be nice to do it. It would be certainly nice to be able to win an ICC tournament. But also in the context of things, you look at this and you see this is a culmination of 2 years of work. It is a culmination of a lot of success that gets you here. So there's a lot of positives to take from that, to see where you stand on the table. Winning series in Australia, drawing series here, being very competitive everywhere that this team has played in the world over the last 5 or 6 years. The difference that I see in this, Vedam, is that if Ravi Shastri was asked this question right before the World Test Championship final, his answer would have been very different. He would have said, we are here to win. Come what may, we deserve to not just be in the final, we deserve to hold that mace because we've been brilliant throughout. That's the difference in approach, or at least in terms of playing mind games before a match like this. And we know Australians love mind games. But how do you react to this? The fact that Rahul Dravid goes on to say, I mean, we don't feel any pressure in terms of trying to win an ICC trophy. Of course, it would be nice to do it. I mean, I don't know. I would have loved it if he'd said something like, of course, we want to win it. We've come here to win the ICC World Test Championship trophy.
Yeah, Mia, I'll ask you just one question. Do you remember that ad where Rahul Dravid was, shaking the bat from the car, from the top of the car, and saying, "May Gund, Indranagar ka Gunda ho." Look at those words coming out of his mouth. You don't expect these kind of words to come out of Rahul Dravid's mouth.
Yeah.
You don't expect him to come and say, "We are here to thrash the daylights out of these guys, and we're going to bash them,"
Yeah.
and etc. etc. You don't expect it. It's not in character. But having said that, winning is a habit. Why is Australia such a dangerous side? Is they win more often than they lose. They have made winning a habit, and winning is a habit for many champion sides. They don't look at a loss or coming this far or coming to the final. Their aim is just the victory, and that is the kind of mindset that India needs to develop very quickly. We are almost there. We are there, but we need to do that. But that doesn't mean talking, and saying, talking to your hat and saying, yeah, we're going to win, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Like they say, sometimes your performance out there in the middle speaks a lot more than all the words put together. And sometimes you may need to talk up the your own players, which is what Ravi Shastri does more than the opposition. He's not talking to the opposition; he's talking to his players, gives
Yeah.
them a lot of confidence, G's them up, and pumps them up, and gets them into sort of a fighting spirit. And they don't give in easily. That's Ravi Shastri's way of doing things. Maybe Rahul Dravid is a different guy. Maybe he'll put his hand over that guy's shoulder, take him along, and then tell him, this is what I expect of you. Don't let me down. And many times irrespective of how the coach behaves, when there is a legend sitting in the dressing room as a coach, the players, especially the younger players, want to impress him more than anything else. And they want to live up to his image of them, and they go that extra mile and try that extra harder. Maybe Dravid is that kind of a coach. He'll be able to try and motivate his men that way. But like Jamie said a little earlier, these are professional cricketers. They know what has to be done, and
Sure.
everybody knows there are so many people waiting back home in India to take their place. You fail, you're gone, you're finished. You're not going to get a second and third and fourth and fifth chance. Maybe there's a last bit of people who are getting a second and third chance because the way things are going with the yo-yo test and fitness and a whole lot of other things, the media glare, social media at you all the time, you can't afford too many failures.
Yeah.
Jamie mentioned a few names. I wholeheartedly agree with him. They should be thankful that they're getting a second and third chance. And there's a lot to lose if you don't play for India. That's another thing we need to take into consideration. It's
Yeah.
not just the IPL, the endorsements, the money, the glamour, the whole lot of things you stand to lose. And many of them come from a background where they could do with a lot more of this. So I think in the long run, the players know what is expected of them, and they have a lot of pride in what they do, and they're not going to let go so easily, especially when they're pushed. And that's what we saw in Australia. Although we lost many of the top stars, they still came back very strongly, and I expect that kind of a fighting spirit, right down the line, not to give up the wickets easily, but to hang on there and ensure that you make a fist of it.
Okay, now you were talking about Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara and the chances that they've gotten now. While the majority of his India teammates were playing the IPL for 2 months, Cheteshwar Pujara, he was captaining Sussex in Division 2 of the County Championship. He's currently the second highest run getter of 2023 County Championship Division 2, having scored 545 runs in 6 matches at an average of 68.12, which includes 300s and 150. It was this kind of county form, in fact far greater in 2022 last year, that prompted the selectors to recall Pujara for the rescheduled 5th Test match versus England after they dropped him 6 months earlier. Since then, he has held down his place in the Test team with 441 runs from 7 Tests with 1 century and 3 50s. Now the question is, how in this good form as Sussex captain, the 102 Test veteran will play in the World Test Championship final, given he's been in England for so long? The importance, Jamie, of someone like a Cheteshwar Pujara in these conditions. Of course, yesterday on the show, Kushan was, and very rightfully was telling us about how Division 2, the standard that one sees in Division 2 is not the best. And so, you need to take this with a pinch of salt. But having said that, he is important to India's scheme of things, were India to lose early wickets, which we've seen happen in England before. The importance of Cheteshwar Pujara and what he can do in the middle, in the batting lineup.
Yeah, look, I mean, Kushan on yesterday's show, he rightly gave the example of the previous year after the team had dropped Pujara and Rahane. Pujara, like always happens during the IPL, he went off and he had a very successful stint for Sussex. But the fact was that this happened in Division Two, where the standard, let's face it, is not the highest. In fact,
Right.
Kushan went as far as to say that he would value 1,000 runs in the Ranji Trophy more than a bunch of runs in County Division Two. Now the same situation confronts Indian team. Once you recall Pujara last year, and yes, it was not a great comeback in that rescheduled fifth test, but he did get 60 odd in the second innings. And then since then, he's gone to Bangladesh and he got 100. So not exceptional returns, but someone of his age, who's just crossed the milestone. And hats off to him for getting to 100 test matches. You have him now. He's only playing because, again, for the last 2 months, he's been parked in England, captaining Sussex and playing for Sussex. He's the only player who's been doing this because the rest have all been playing the IPL. So I have no doubt that it's that experience of the conditions. No matter where he played, he didn't play at the Oval. He played at smaller grounds. He's played against lesser teams. But India are putting a very, very high price, as you expect from someone of the stature of Rahul Dravid, who during his playing days really went out of his way to ensure that he got county deals, be it with Kent, be it with Scotland. So from that perspective, the Indian team values the time that Pujara has been there. Does that necessarily mean that he's going to, again, like I said, walk out and score runs against Stark, Boland, and Cummins? I don't think so. One interesting stat that I found out last night in this WTC cycle 21 to 23, Pujara is India's highest run getter, but he doesn't even have 900 runs, and he ranks at number 19, and the number
Wow.
one leader has nearly double the amount of runs. So overall, if you see this cycle, I was very surprised to see that there's no Indians in the top 10, because normally in the last cycle, India's batsmen were very dominant. This says that India's batting, and not too surprisingly, has not done all that well. Which is why I just go back to it, the selection. Go for Pujara, go for Rahane. Hope that Rohit Sharma does something. Hope that Shubman Gill channels his outstanding form across three formats into this match. Hope Virat Kohli walks the talk. Virat Kohli just said, I think I'm very close to my best form. Let's hope we see even half of his best form, because I cannot stress Maya enough on how India's batting has been the main culprit in the last 4 or 5 years in overseas test matches, barring the Australian tour, which Vedam referenced, because to go from 36 all out to win at the MCG, to draw at the SCG, and then beat Australia at the Gabba. Yes, the bowlers took the wickets, but that was the only series, to my mind, when the batsmen were equally on par with the bowlers. You look at New Zealand, you look at England, you look at South Africa. I think the bowlers did the job by taking 20 wickets. It's the batting that underperformed consistently in 4 to 5 overseas tours. From that aspect, like I said, let's hope the top five and Ishan and KS Bharat, who I think will play,
Yeah.
these guys get their runs, because it's the batting has been the sole culprit in these overseas tours.
Okay, and that's where the role of Virat Kohli becomes very important, because Vedam, we've seen how he raises his game against Australia. I mean, what is it about Australia as the opponent where Virat Kohli just, wants to beat them at all costs? And we was looking at his numbers: 24 test matches against Australia. He scored 1,979 runs, average of 48.2, 8 centuries, 5 50s. He's already, as we've seen, in the form of his life. I mean, this comeback really would be complete for Virat Kohli and his fans if he were to score 100 in the World Test Championship, a match-winning 100 in the WTC final.
I think it was Justin Langer or Ricky Ponting, I'm not sure who, but one of them as coach advised the Australian players not to enter into a tussle with him, not to enter into a banter with him. They said he feeds off it. He gets stronger, he feeds off it, he looks forward to it. They said just let him go. Don't enter into it. He'll try and get into a verbal duel with you. He'll try and do something, but just let him go. Ignore him. He feeds off it. And I think that's what brings out the best in him, especially against Australia. He looks forward to that. He knows Australians won't let go, because somebody like David Warner, it's not there in his psyche to let go. The minute he sees somebody like Virat Kohli, ragging him, fooling around, and
Yeah.
things like that, immediately he'll latch on to the smallest of things, the slightest of things. And I think these are the guys whom I think Virat Kohli also, he knows whom to pick on. He knows they will react. People like David Warner, and that's what feeds him. Suddenly he's got adrenaline pumping through his veins, and he starts batting like a king. He sees the ball better. Maybe some zones open up for him, and some channels open up, and he starts seeing better. Maybe that's what he does. And look at the other guy, Cheteshwar Pujara. He's so calm. And I think even if you show a photo of Cheteshwar Pujara to the Australian fast bowlers, they will groan because they have been bowling at him, and somehow he doesn't get out to them. He hangs on and on and on. Even if he scores just 15, 20 runs, he would have made them work 3 times or 4 times more. So I think that way they're a good combination. It's only that if Cheteshwar Pujara and Rahane are batting together, then it's doomsday scenario. But on the other hand, is the Virat Kohli and Cheteshwar Pujara. It's like ice and heat. This
Yeah.
guy is ice cool, and that guy is all the time in your face. It's a difference when these two are together, and we'd like to see more of them together because that is when it will bring out the best in each other. And Pujara too, he may look very quiet, but he's a very combative, and he
Absolutely.
too must be realizing that this could be his last series. And just like Kohli wants to make an impression in every series, every match, and Pujara too has got that spirit of the warrior. I think we are in for a good game.
Okay, so Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, ice and fire, fire and ice. But what about Shubman Gill, India's new superstar, Jamie? I think there are a lot of expectations now from Shubman Gill, who is in the form of his life. And I wonder how he will react to those expectations, because this is going to be a trial by fire for him. Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark are going to come hard at him with the new ball, and if the conditions are what we're expecting, I don't know if you all have seen the pitch, but if you have, it's as green as the outfield there. So hopefully they will shave off some of the grass there, but we know what the conditions are going to be, Jamie. So what should Shubman Gill be wary of?
Look, I think there is no tougher place to bat or to open, I would say, than England because of the conditions. In 5 days, at pretty much any venue you play at in England, you're going to get 5 different conditions. We've seen England players, past and former. We've seen overseas players, past and former, say how hard it is. So from that aspect, look, Shubman Gill, this is his year. He's got hundreds in every format. I believe he is the best young all format opener going around. Definitely, to my mind, will lead India, but he cannot afford to get carried away in the euphoria that has been hanging over him for the last 8, 9, maybe even a whole year now. That said, if you were to ask me, is there one player that you see from this top five who could score 100 against that quality Australia pace attack? With, let's give full credit to Nathan Lyon, also
Oh,
lurking.
yes.
I would say it would be Shubman Gill purely because of the momentum this 23-year-old boy is carrying. There is no room for criticism when it comes to him because he has dispelled all the doubts, all the critiques about his nature of batting in the last 9, 10 months. That said, he's been to England twice. The first time before that 21 series, he got injured, and then Mayank Agarwal got injured, and then KL Rahul opened. And then the second time around, he did play that match. I think he got 21-4. So while his record against Australia is very good, and I think he's another player like Pujara, like Vedam mentioned, who the Australians probably would not want to see spend too much time, because at 91 at the Gabba 2.5 years ago, what an innings that was. And then again in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, he got runs. But he just needs to somehow get past that opening spell. I think he's going to play not the T20 mode, of course, but he's going to bring that somewhat attacking nature which has come into his batting over the last 10 years. And I think if he can just get through the first 10, 12 overs, more than Rohit Sharma, it's that boy who could, if India bat first, he could be 181 not out at stumps, like I said yesterday. Slightly far-fetched, some viewers might say, but the faith which this boy inspires in me right now is far more than this Indian generation's top four of Rohit, Virat, Pujara, and Rahane. Right now, at this stage.
No, I think you're right in saying that if someone can adapt to these conditions quickly, if someone can transition from that T20 zone to this, it is Shubman Gill, because of the kind of form that we've seen him in all three formats, right? So he is in red hot form, Vedam, and that's why I think the Australians would have spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get him out. Now, Pat Cummins has his number. I was seeing the stats. He has gotten out to him, I think, 3 times in 6 innings. So he'll be coming hard at him. But I also feel, now Rohit Sharma had said this about his batting, and he was the highest run scorer for India in their tour to England last time. So he has said that in England, you're never really in because the conditions keep changing and you have to focus, or you have to maintain that concentration and focus for a larger amount of time. There is somebody, if there is somebody in this team who can do it and who is in this kind of, what do I say? He's hungry for runs right now, you know, and you saw that in the way he batted against Royal Challengers Bangalore, you know, when nothing really was at stake. Gujarat Titans had qualified, but he wanted to go out there, score 100, score runs. So you're seeing that hunger. You're seeing a youngster who's, you know, really balanced in when it comes to his temperament. Is he the one? Do you think he'll be the top scorer for India in this World Test Championship final? Let's ask you that now.
Actually, I think a lot of people will be watching Shubman Gill bat, not just the Indian players, the Australians and the Englishmen also. Because if anybody can play that buzzball game, it's him in this Indian team. And I think somebody like McCullum would be sitting there and seeing what sort of strategy they'll have for a buzzball batsman. And Australia also, you know, they could get used to his batsmanship before they enter into the Ashes, where the batsman will be coming hard at them. Yeah, but Shubman Gill also has to realize that it is a waiting game, especially when you're opening the batting. It is a waiting game. Yes, we have had some outstanding batsmen in the past, like Viv Richards, who could take the game away from the bowler, irrespective of who was bowling or what the conditions were. I mean, but he was a genius. And Shubman Gill is not yet there. You know, we'd like him to be that batsman, but he is not yet there. And of course, all of us expect that and hope that he will get going, because with him and Rohit at the top, you know, you could have a very, very rapid opening partnership, you know.
Yes.
And definitely the Australians will attack them. They are not going to have defensive field positions. They will attack them. And there will be a lot of vacant space spots in the field. And that is what these guys would be targeting. And I like the way that Shubman Gill plays some of his shots. He got away with it in Australia. He got away with it in India. But I'd like to see that short arm jab of his, which he pulls towards mid wicket, how it works out in England. And if it really works out, and look, this oval pitch is expected to have a lot more bounce than many of the English pitches. So maybe it could be the right pitch for him to unleash that shot. But yeah, let's see how he plays, especially on the offside. And he has, like Jamie said, he's one of the most talented youngsters that we have around here. And at 23, every outing must be a learning experience for him. And I'm sure he's a smart guy. He's a young chap. He's a smart guy with a lot of talent. And he'll be picking up lessons very quickly. And, you know, he must think on his feet in this WTC final. And I'm sure he's capable of that. And basically, yes, if he gets going, then India are on velvet, especially because he'll be scoring at a fast clip. He's capable of scoring at a fast clip. He's a brilliant fielder also. And I think that will set the tone, you know. And we look forward to that, really.
Yeah. Okay, now if you have to beat the opposition, you must know your opposition. So let's talk about the #1 Test batsman that Australia has. He's been playing for Durham in Division 2 of the County Championship, where he sits behind Rishi Patel and Cheteshwar Pujara on the runs table with 502 runs from 8 innings. He's averaging 71. His highest score is 171 not out. He scored 200s, 250s. And in his recent comments, he has indicated how having spent time in England has helped him prepare for the World Test Championship final and, of course, the Ashes. So Manas Labuschagne is who I'm talking about. He is the 4th highest run scorer of the 2021-23 WTC cycle. And what Jamie was saying, that Cheteshwar Pujara in this cycle scored runs which were much less than 500. Here you have Labuschagne, 1,509 runs from 19 tests. I think Cheteshwar Pujara had, I'm not sure. I'm going to check that. I think 800 runs, I'm not sure. I will check it. But
800 odd, yes.
yeah, 800 runs. And here you have Marnus Labuschagne, who loves to score runs, Jamie. He's doing well in county cricket. Him, along with Usman Khwaja, whose test comeback has been phenomenal. David Warner in the last phase, really, of his career. Steve Smith. There is Alex Carey. Travis Head. You know, Vedam was just talking about baseball. Travis Head is somebody who follows that philosophy of baseball even before, I think, you know, the English guys picked it up. So him, Cameron Green, like I said, Alex Carey, they've got a really good batting lineup, and they all know how to bat in these conditions.
Absolutely. That is the advantage Australia that I was alluding to very, very briefly at the start of the show, because they have players who have played here a lot more than Indian team. But that said, it's been 20 years since any Australian side won the Ashes in England. 20 years is a long time for a team who, like England, cannot really think much beyond the Ashes. That is hanging over their heads. I just want to say that, David Warner, if he fails here, this could be his last test series. He wants to sign off at the SCG in January, but for that, he's going to have to score a lot of runs. Usman Khwaja, you rightly said, he has been the comeback of this WTC cycle. Tons of runs, but in England in 3 tours, he's done nothing. It's Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith, and then Travis Head. Very, very, very underrated player, despite the success he's had. If he gets a platform, just like he has over the last year and a half, it's Travis Head who could really swing the match from India, especially if Jadeja and Ashwin don't have a good day. Not even a session, I'm saying a full good day. Because what Travis Head has done in the last 18 months in his revamped role is play the baseball that Vedam is talking about. Baseball has been coined post McCullum and Ben Stokes. But look at what Travis Head has been doing. He's been doing baseball. He and Rishabh Pant have been doing baseball for about a year before that term came about. And if the top 4 lay a platform, if Travis Head starts teeing off, what does Cameron Green need to do? Just think he's playing at the Wankhede in an IPL match and just start to swing the ball, And if that happens, I mean, I know that the Travis Head and Alex Carey had a tough time in India, but this is not India. This is England. They've all played county cricket. They know what it takes here. That is the advantage I was talking about. I think India can deal with Cummins and Stark and Scott Boland, but if the bowlers are not even anywhere near their best, this batting lineup is going to pummel India.
But can they deal with Pat Cummins? Because he's been out of competitive cricket since the middle of February. Australia's test captain, he returned home, remember, from the Border Gavaskar Trophy because his mother was unwell. He now returns for the World Test Championship final with an eye not just on this one-off final, but as Jamie's been saying, the Ashes that start just after. In the 2021-23 WTC cycle, Cummins, who's ranked 3rd for test bowlers, he's taken the most wickets. That's 53 from 15 tests at an average of 21.22. He's gone wicketless just 3 times in 25 innings. While as a bowler, he claimed 5 wickets at Brisbane, and that was on his test captaincy debut, and in an away win in Lahore. As leader, Cummins has overseen series wins in Pakistan and at home, a 1-all draw in Sri Lanka. His record versus India is very good, 12 tests, 46 wickets, his best being 6 for 27. And he will be charged up because at the end of it all, Vedam, this is about who wins this and carries this as part of their record as a test captain. Whether it's Rohit Sharma or Pat Cummins, they'll always be known for having won the World Test Championship final if they win this. So, yes, the pressure is going to be on both these captains, but Pat Cummins knows how to bowl in these conditions. Pat Cummins knows how to get wickets in these conditions.
Yeah, Pat Cummins is actually the prototype of an Australian fast bowler. They go for these tall fast bowlers, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", guys who bowl plus 140 kilometers per hour, and bowl the three quarters length where they get the ball to rear up. And oval actually would be ideal for these guys, especially people like Stark and Pat Cummins, because they bowl from that height. They have that awkward height. They get that awkward bounce, and they are experienced. Cummins, of course, is one of the finest bowlers that we have in world cricket, and he's shown it time and again. He's more like the McGrath type, who's able to, get the ball going outside the off stump, on the off stump, getting the odd one to come back. He'll surprise you with one bouncer once in a way. But he's an outstanding fast bowler. There's no doubt about it. And like you said, he will be a handful for the Indian batsmen. We have just one left-hand batsman, so you're not even able to shake the line. So you have one left-hand batsman that is in Jadeja. You're not going to push him to the top of the order. At best, he can hope to play at number 5. So I think Australian fast bowlers will have a decent run, especially against right-hand batsmen that we have. But yes, I think it's a great opportunity for both Cummins and for Rohit Sharma, to leave a legacy behind. Winning a World Test Championship is not a joke; it's a big thing,
Yeah,
and you don't get that opportunity. You have to prove yourself so many times, first and foremost, to get to this place, and then to cross
absolutely.
the threshold and win it is even tougher. So,
Yeah.
and I think that is something that everybody will cherish. And both the captains, I have a feeling it's the last World Test Championship captaincy for both of them, and I think they'd like to go out in flying
I'm
colors.
going to put you both on the spot, but before that, I asked this to Jamie, and he said yesterday that he'd go with two spinners in Jadeja and Ashwin. Quickly from Vedam, would he agree? And then I'm going to ask you who you think will be the top scorer for India and Australia separately. Vedam, you'd go with two spinners?
Yes, I will go with two spinners. I will go with Ashwin because Australia has got a lot of left-hand batsmen, and if there is a little bit of dampness in the pitch, he will come into play. Even
Okay,
otherwise, in the fourth innings, I think he will come into play. So I will have Ashwin. I'll have Jadeja because Jadeja has great all-round qualities. He can even get you a wicket with his fielding. I'll go with that.
absolutely.
But I will go with Umesh Yadav, who's a better bowler than
Shardul. Shardul Thakur. Okay.
Shardul Thakur. He's a better bowler than him. Shardul Thakur is only a better batsman, but as a fielder and bowler, he's better. It's better for you to go with five bowlers. If at all somebody has to do a holding job, it can be one of the spinners who can do the holding job. But you need three fast bowlers at the throat of the batsman all the time.
Okay, okay. So I think Jamie said Shardul Thakur with two spinners, and of course Mohammad Shami and Siraj. Vedam saying that he'd go with Umesh Yadav in place of Shardul Thakur. Okay, now time for you guys to look into the future and tell us who will be the highest run scorer for India and for Australia. Let me start with Jamie, and then I'll come to Vedam.
Highest run score for India, for reasons I've already outlined, I'm going to go with Shubman Gill across 2 innings. And for Australia, I'm going to say Steve Smith.
Okay, Vedam.
I would go with Virat Kohli because it's for simple reason that Australia gets him going.
Yeah.
So I would go with Virat Kohli, and there I would go for the Australian with Labuschagne.
Okay. So I think I'm going to go with Vedam on that one because I also think Virat Kohli, just the way, the form that he's in, he always wants to prove to the world that he is the best against Australia. Quickly, the bowlers, highest wicket taker for both teams. Jamie?
I hope they play Ashwin because the hold he has over Australia right now, under Dravid and under Shastri and Kohli, he was always deemed surplus. It's always Jadeja playing overseas. I hope Ashwin plays. If he does, I know the conditions may not suit him, but just the performer he is, I'm expecting no less than 25, 28 overs per day from him. Ashwin, and on the other side, I'm going for Scott Boland.
Okay. Scott Boland's brilliant start to Test cricket. Been getting a lot of wickets. What about you?
Australia has got a lot of left-hand batsmen, so I would go with Mohammad Siraj. He has a lovely Indipa, and he's actually at the peak of his bowling prowess right now. And if the slip catchers can do their job, I think Mohammad Siraj will be more than a handful against Australians, and they will see that if the conditions help him, he'll be an outstanding success. As far as the Australian team is concerned, I would go with Pat Cummins because he's got experience. He may be a little undercooked, like you say, but I think I'll still go with him because of his height and his ability to bowl that outside the off-stump line.
Okay, thank you so much, Jamie Alter and Vedam Jaishankar. So we're going to wrap this up because we're out of time, but we will be covering this World Test Championship final for you. It starts tomorrow, and we'll be back from 2 o'clock, 2 to 3, the build-up to the World Test Championship final. So do join us then. That's it from us. And also subscribe to News 9 Live for all the latest from the world of sports. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.